Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm sorry that I'm late, but I had to know that the stream is going on. And tonight's live stream is going to be about black men's on social media's obsession with black women. And when I take at most of the black males on social media these days, they have gone far beyond what a critique is. Now, 10 to 15 years ago, I could say that there was a critique of black women on social media, but these days I'm not seeing much of a critique anymore. If anything, it looks like the critique has devolved into an obsession, and it's that obsession that is something that I consider to be quite troubling. And before I go into in depth talking about that obsession, I'm going to explain the difference between a critique and what I would consider to be an obsession. Now, a critique is something where somebody gives people constructive criticism and they offer an objective analysis of an individual's behavior or a person's behavior. That's what they would usually give you an objective analysis of the behavior. And at the end of that objective analysis, there would be some sort of work towards some sort of solution. And when I look at black males these days on social media and their anger directed about the behavior of black women, I don't see much discussion as related towards solutions as related to black women's behavior. Instead, all I hear is a lot of anger and a lot of frustration. And that's not something I would consider to be constructive, to sit there and continue to complain about all of the so called bad black women and the ratchet black women in the community and their behavior over and over again with the same talking points. This is not the behavior of a functional, healthy man because a functional presented his talking points about black women. There needs to be work on some sort of solution. They're going to say, look, if these females in the community are so bad, then maybe I need to leave that woman in that person alone, and I need to move on to other women in the community. Now, these black males, they have this, as I see it, they just keep going on and on and on, and to do this over a decade, this is quite troubling because what they don't see is that they're not getting any of the change that they say that they want. And in fact, you're actually making things worse as related to these black women. Because when you take a critical examination of black males who make all of these numerous videos, these numerous live streams, nothing really has changed as related to black women. And all you're doing actually is giving these black women actually what they want. Now, when it comes down to your American black female who is a ratchet, who is out of pocket, who is disrespectful, who is rude, and who likes drama, the one thing that these females love is attention. Talking about these black want. And what they want is that attention. What they want to do is hear black men talking about them, and they want to hear black men getting involved with all of the drama that they instigate. So all of these videos and live streams are actually just feeding these black women's need for attention and giving them exactly what they want. And they want this attention, and all this is doing is rewarding the black female with the attention she wants. And when you reward the female with the attention she wants, guess what you get? You get them participating in more outrageous behavior and more escalating that outrageous behavior so that they can get more attention from black men. So the black males, they're sitting there thinking that by making these videos and live streams talking about these black women, that they are reporting how they behave. But in actuality, and the greatest irony is, you're just giving the black woman exactly what she wants, which is that attention. And when you reward somebody with the attention that they want, then what you're going to get is more of the exact same attention. And that's why you continue to see the black females continuing to act out in a negative fashion, going out here talking about swirling, talking about um, making these twerk videos, acting out in the melodramatic fashion in these fast food restaurants. These videos get views, these videos get attention, and whenever they get a reaction from these black men out here, all that does is give this woman more power in the situation and gives her more control over the black man. Because what he's doing when he reacts to these videos by making response videos is giving this black woman more of the attention she craves, more of the attention she desires, and more of the attention that she believes she can get, because she believes this is the only way she can get her needs met. This female is a man because she does not have proper social skills. So what she does is act out to get that attention from men. And because we have males who don't understand that if you want women to respond to you, you cannot react to them, then what they do is react instead of coming up with a constructive response. Because men who understand how to respond, what they do when they see these attention-seeking stunts is what they do is they don't watch the videos, they don't look at the pictures on Instagram, they don't look at the posts on Facebook, and they don't make response videos, nor do they make live streams talking about these women, because they know if they talk about this woman this way and react to it, what you're going to get is more of the exact same behavior. But many black males out here, they haven't figured this out, and that's why they continue to go around in a vicious cycle with these black women, and that vicious cycle is turning into insanity. Now, the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. And black men on YouTube, Facebook, and many other social media sites have been doing the exact same thing, critiquing and not critiquing, but calling out these black women for over 10 years. And they have been doing, and it's only been leading to more and more of an escalation of the so-called rat shit, irresponsible, and reckless behavior many of these black men complain about. And they don't understand that the more attention women gain over you, because what I'm seeing with all of these numerous response videos to the crazy behavior of some of these so-called ratchet black women is more what happens is we get more and more crazy behavior, and we get more and more reactions. And the responses from the black men these days are getting to be just as insane as the behavior of the black women. That's what I'm seeing right now from many of these black males, that their behavior is getting so insane these days that it's literally almost just like the black females. And what's sad is a lot of these guys, they don't see how their behavior has practically been escalating to practically insane levels these days. They don't see how their behavior isn't normal. What they're doing these days is just as crazy as the behavior that the black women participate in. And they don't see that they're getting ready to fly off the deep end. When I look at a lot of these black males out here and their behaviors online, their behavior is starting to fly off that deep end. And it's really disturbing. I mean, I think about, thank you very much, Ringo, for the donation, but I'm going to keep going on because the behavior I'm seeing these days, it's flying off the deep end. I mean, when you have black men who will sit there for 6, 7, 8, even 11 hours on a live stream talking about black women, that there's something wrong with that. That means somebody has broken a boundary. I mean, a normal man like myself, I'm only going to go on and do a live stream for maybe 1.5, 2 hours tops, because I understand the value of time. Now, to see a man sitting there for 6, 7, 8, 9, even 11 hours doing a live stream, we were just sitting there talking about black women, that's showing that somebody really does not understand boundaries as related to normal behavior, and is starting to really not, doesn't see how there's this whole discussion they're having is starting to become obsessive. And an obsession is something where a person has fixated on something to the point where they're not looking to look out for their safety or their health. And when I look at the way a lot of these black males are talking about black women online, they have gone to the point of obsession, because an obsessed person, they practically live to talk about the same subject over and over and over and over again. And that's what an obsessed person does. When I look at a lot of the black males on social media these days, it's like they have this obsession with black women because they're always talking about them. And what's really disturbing is that they talk bad about black women, but if you have such an issue with black women, then I have to say, why, and they're so ratchet and out of pocket, then why don't you walk away from the black females, leave them alone, and stop talking about them? Because a person who is healthy will just say, okay, I've had a bad experience with a black woman. Okay, I understand that didn't work out. And if I'm having issues with black women, I need to leave the black women alone. But a person who is obsessed, they continue to talk about those black women, and they think that this is healthy behavior. This is not healthy behavior to see a man sitting there and he's talking about black. Every video he makes is one directed at black women, and every video he makes is negative about black women. That's something that someone with a mental health issue does, where they continue to make video after video every day talking about black women, and then sit there and continue to go on about this subject without any sort of constructive plan for dealing with their issues regarding black women. So I look at a lot of these guys who are making these videos and live streams, and some of these guys need to see some sort of psychotherapist, because this is just isn't healthy. Now I know some of these guys out here, they make these videos because they want to get views on YouTube and they want to get these ad dollars, but I'm starting to see where it's not even about the money anymore, because this obsession has overtaken them and they are literally doing things that literally are breaking boundaries. I mean, again, 6, 7 hour live stream to talk about black women. That's not something that a healthy man is going to do, because his time is too valuable. And a man who has other goals, he has other goals he wants to focus on other than sitting there talking about one subject over and over and over and over again. Because as I see it from a critical perspective, how does this help the black woman change? I mean, you've made all of these statements about the black woman's bad behavior, but how does this help the black woman change? That's the critical question I have to ask many of these content creators on social media who have these harsh opinions about black women. How does all of this help the black women change? Because it doesn't look like the black women are changing. And the reason why the black women's behavior isn't changing is because you keep rewarding these black women for their bad behavior by paying attention to their bad behavior. Because if you wanted to see black women behave positively, you would bring up examples of positive behavior that black women participate in, and you would support those sisters out here who are doing right in the community, and those sisters out here who want to build in the black community. Those would be the women you would want to talk about, because you would want to see that model presented as an example, and you would want to see that being promoted in the community as what you would see as an ideal. Because a normal person, okay, they're going to see a black woman out here who's positive, and they're going to say, look, I'm going to go deal with these black women, and I'm not going to keep dealing with these so-called ratchet, irresponsible, reckless women who have the tattoos, who are out here being the baby mamas, who are out here selling their bodies and giving their bodies away. They are not going to talk about those women because they want to see a positive example of womanhood. And if they do talk about those women, it is to critique them. And then after they make their critique, they are going to offer a solution and they're going to move forward. But when I look at the black males on social media these days, they just talk bad about black women all day long. And this talking about black women all day long, I'm starting to see how it's having an effect on the mental health of many of these black males on social media. And because it looks like the way they're going off the deep end with their behavior. Their actions show some sort of obsessiveness, because an obsessive person, they can't talk about anything else but that one subject. Now, a healthy person, they can talk about other things on their channel, but an obsessed person, all they can do is talk about black women all day long. Because if you look at the channels, it's just black women, black women, black women, black women, and no talk of building in the community, no talk of family, no talk of anything as related to activities like cars or home ownership or even the Bible. I mean, talk about anything talking about something of substance. You don't see it on there. You just see countless videos about black women. And as I see it, that kind of content, it's just repetitive and boring. I mean, if I think about it, 10 years of videos on black women, I couldn't talk about that subject, on and on and on. And what makes it even more insane them talking about black women is that these guys who talk about black women then talk about how to get women, and they may go out here and get the exact same women that they complain about, which clearly shows me that that these guys are completely insane, because you sit there and talk about how to get these women into bed and how you're looking for the easy women, and then you, after you get the women, you then complain about the exact same women. But you don't see how insane it is to talk about getting those women and then sit there and talk about how black women are ratchet and how they are so messed up. But in actuality, you're the most common denominator as related to everything, because you're the one who's out here going out here getting involved with these women, and then you want to complain that the women are bad. And the problem is, most of these black males out here, they don't see where they're the ones in the wrong. They want to sit there and talk about the black woman in the wrong, but they're the ones who keep going after and pursuing these women. And that's where they have the problem, as I see it. Because if you're going to sit there and talk about bad black women, then why do you continue to pursue these kinds of women, then complain when you get the exact same results? So it's clearly a vicious cycle many of these black males are involved in, and they don't see how that vicious cycle keeps repeating itself. They want to sit there and blame the black woman for being ratchet, but they're the ones who are attracting the ratchets. It's like what I said in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, which was a critique of all of those single black females out there who complained that they could not find a husband. I put a whole critique in there with the solution in there. And the whole thing is that I was trying to explain to them that the approaches that they were using were outside of God's. Now, males are doing the exact same thing. They are out here participating in the exact same behavior, using the exact same approaches. And what they don't understand is that you are what you attract. Moreover, you attract those people to you with the energy that you have and the behaviors you participate in. So if you are attracting these ratchet, no good black women, then a lot of these black males have to start taking a look at themselves in the mirror, because the person who is attracting these females is that man, and the approaches he is using is attracting these ratchet females to him. So he's sitting there talking about these women are bad, but you have to start working on yourself so that when you go out here, you will not attract those females to you. Because a man who puts himself first and puts work into himself, what he will do is going to go out here and he's not going to attract those women. In fact, all of those so-called ratchet females won't want anything to do with that man. And the reason why they won't want anything to do with that man is because he radiates a completely different energy. He has a completely different presence, and he has nothing inside of him that will attract any of those ratchet females to them. And one of the reason why a lot of these guys attract those females to them is because a lot of these guys want easy. And because they are afraid of taking rejection from women, they're afraid of women saying no to them. They go out here looking for the easy yes. And this is something I talked about in the Misadventures of Captain Save-'em and Stop Simpin'. And I'm going to try to leave a link to Stop Simpin' in the chat, so you can get Stop Simpin' on Amazon. I put the link in there right now. And in Misadventures of Captain Save-'em, I also talk about it. And these guys are afraid of hearing no, and they want to hear the easy yes. So what they will do is go out here and look for the easy yes. and they will look for that easy yes, and then what they don't understand is what this woman is saying yes for, or why she's saying yes. And what happens is they make a deal with the devil, then they get upset when the deal burns them, and then they want to go online and complain about such bad black women. But the problem is they were being themselves, because a lot of these guys, they want to get that easy yes, not understanding there's a consequence for an easy yes. Because you get an easy yes from a woman, you're going to have to deal with some sort of consequence, and one of those consequences you have to deal with these types of females is the fact that they are dysfunctional, and you can't complain about their dysfunction, because when she said yes to you, this is what you agreed to. And this is why these guys wind up in the nightmare that a lot of them wind up in. A lot of these guys wind up in the nightmare because they want that easy yes. Unfortunately, they don't understand that once she says yes, you also say yes to all of the baggage that goes along with that woman. So a lot of these guys, they want to get mad about this, but what they are happens to a lot of them is they are addicted to the easy sex that they get from these women. And because they are addicted to the easy sex, they wind up caught up in this vicious cycle where the same things repeat themselves over and over again. And then they want to sit here and complain about the same things happening over and over again, instead of taking a critical examination of their life paradigm and why it does not work. Because things are not working for a reason. And the main reason why they are not working is because many of these males who make these videos on social media and these live streams are outside of God's natural order. And a lot of these men do not want to follow God's standard for manhood, and they don't want to follow what God has presented as the standard for manhood in the Bible. Now, some of these men, they were not taught that standard because some of them came from single mother households, and others just didn't want to hear those standards because they were too busy watching Madison Avenue and Hollywood media. And because they want to buy into the ideas of Hollywood and Madison Avenue media regarding manhood, they want to be a man by having sex with a woman, when that standard was never what God created for a man. It was a standard created by Madison Avenue and Hollywood. And a lot of these guys want this standard to actually work, but this standard will never work because that's not the way God designed a man to become a man. And all these men are doing by going by this standard are heading down the standard of a whoremonger. And again, that's a standard that is going to lead to a man's destruction, because as he goes down that road, he's just going to disconnect himself from his ability to love anyone or care about anyone, and he's going to wind up eventually winding up detached from everything, and he's going to actually lose the kingdom at the end of his life. So it's not a road guys want to go on. Unfortunately, black men believe that this is the road to manhood because they never had a father in their life to teach them the road to manhood, and they never had God there to teach them what the standard of manhood is. So a lot of these guys, they're coming from that standard, and some of them are who are on social media and who are making all of these videos and live streams. A lot of these guys have a lot of hurt that they're dealing with from their mothers and their relationships with their mothers. So a lot of these guys are also dealing with a bad relationship between them and their mothers. And that's one of the things that possibly is leading to all of this anger directed at black women, because the relationship between them and the first black woman they ever grew up with wasn't positive. So now they are venting all of that anger about that relationship failing. And what they don't understand is that that relationship sets the foundation for every other relationship you have. So if the mother is is ratchet, then what happens is the guy starts looking for women who are just like his mother. And because he's looking for a woman who's just like his mother, what happens is he winds up with the same type of woman. And then he winds up angry because he's expecting a different type of woman, but he winds up with the exact same woman. So a lot of these guys have mommy issues, and they're still making these videos and live streams because they have not worked out those mommy issues as related to their strained relationship between them and their mother. And because their relationship between them and their mother is strained, they don't see how that laid the foundation for their relationships with every other woman out here. Because if you don't have a good relationship with your mother, then what happens is that these guys wind up gravitating to the same type of woman over and over again, not understanding that subconsciously you're still pursuing the exact same type of woman, not understanding that. No, that's not the like button, Luciano. That was just my phone because I guess getting a lot of, let me see what we got here. Getting a lot of looks like YouTube comments, so but a lot of guys out here, they have not dealt with their mother issues. And this is something that is leading to them becoming frustrated, leading to them becoming angry, and leading to them making these videos and live streams complaining about Black women and not understanding that all of this complaining does not work towards any sort of constructive solution. Telling me about how bad Black women is does not make any of these Black women stop behaving the way that they do. Just like I stated before, every statement you make about Black women, all that does is give her more of the attention that she wants, gives her more of a dopamine hit, and gives her more of a high from that dopamine hit, because every like that you give her on Instagram, every comment you make about her in a video, every statement you make about Black women, what that does is it gives her more of a reason to participate in more of this attention seeking behavior. And it's the reward she wants to receive, because she wouldn't post she got a reward for that behavior. So we have to, if Black men were really thinking critically, they would sit there and say, I can't reward this behavior. And what I need to do is not watch the twerk videos, not watch the fight videos, not make any sort of comment about them, and literally go on a wall of silence regarding them. And you'll start to see that all of this content will start to go away, because the more you reward the behavior, the more behavior you get. But your Black male, sadly, in a lot of cases, because he's been raised in a single mother household and he's emotional, he thinks that making these commentaries will actually help stop this behavior. But all it does is reward more of it, and it leads to more and more and more of the content. And what I'm seeing again is this escalation of insanity, because a lot of the Black males who make the videos and the live streams, their behavior is again is starting to head into a very troubling place, because you have people getting more emotional, more and more personal. And this is not healthy behavior. This is not critique, because again, with a critique, there comes a solution. And the solutions are working towards rectifying the problem, not continuing to complain about the problem. And what I see from some Black males is that they're frustrated about there being no solution to some of the problems they have with Black women. And what they don't understand is a lot of the solutions are staring you right in the face if you do things like read your Bible and do things like learn about manhood from other men. And Mobar left a good point about the Black men with the daddy issues. And that's also another part of what's wrong with a lot of these black males is that a lot of them also have daddy issues because they have a problem with male authority. They have a problem with male authority figures. They have a problem with learning about being a man from another man because, in addition to the emotional and verbal abuse they got from their mother, they were taught not to trust any other man out here or respect another man who was trying to help them. So they will see another man trying to help them, and then they will get upset at that man because they heard from their mother that men are bad. And this is what you can also get on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And a lot of these men, they are in deep they have deep issues as related to other black men out here. And whenever another black man comes to them trying to help them, they want to get angry at that black man. I left a link to The Man Crisis in the chat so you can pick up that book. They get angry at that man because they don't want to respect male authority, nor do they want to hear another man who is trying to help them. And oftentimes they don't want to hear that man because they have been taught not to trust men. And what they don't understand is that the man is the one who can help them because he understands what it means to be a man, and he has experienced things to and can teach you about them. And again, when I look at a lot of these black men who are continuing to make all of these videos and live streams, again, I look at their behavior and it's not going in a good direction when you have people who have been making the same videos about black women for over a decade, and they're not looking at these videos and live streams and saying to themselves, how is any of this facilitating any sort of change? I mean, anytime you make a critique of something, think what you're talking about and move in a different direction. Because for us to have over 10 years of YouTube videos directed at black women talking about their bad behavior and no change whatsoever, I look at that and it just shows me that people aren't taking that critical examination of things to see that you're not getting the results that you want, and doing the exact same thing and continuing to complain about these bad black women does not make them stop being bad black women. All it does is give those bad black women the attention that they want, gives them the spotlight that they want. And what we do when we do that is we marginalize all of the decent sisters out here, and they don't get talked about or the support that they need, and they don't get praised and rewarded for doing what a decent sister is supposed to do. And even worse is we've got this distorted picture thanks to all of these videos of black women. And instead of us seeing a balanced picture of black women, we have the window being skewed so far to one side. Is one picture of this black woman that went about the sapphire. And those two stereotypes, looks like YouTube is playing with my connection, that demonizes the image of the black woman. And what they do is, okay, YouTube is playing with my stream again, but because I'm telling too much truth. But what those two stereotypes do is make the black woman appear to be an emasculating monster, and they make the black woman appear to be loyal only to white men. So we get a really distorted and exaggerated picture of black womanhood. And that picture is so distorted to the point where we don't see a real picture of black women. And what we see is a picture that white supremacists want us to see of black women, a picture that shows us a black woman as a monster and shows us a picture of a black woman that is unattractive and undesirable. So what that picture does is it creates it where the black man is repulsed by his own woman, and white supremacists also put that image out there about black men, and they have both of those pictures out there, and both of you are hating each other. And what's really troubling is we have black men and black women making these gender war videos where they're hating each other, and sadly they don't see how it's a cycle that is eventually leading that would lead to us turning against each other and seeing each other as enemies. Black men talking about how they want to go out here and go outside of the race. And then you have black women talking about going outside of their race. And all of it is coming from this place of hurt. And this place of hurt is something black people, they have to really take a look at and deal with, because this is something they don't want to deal with. They don't want to deal with this hurt that they have either from their experiences growing up, their experiences with a bad boyfriend, their experiences with a bad girlfriend, and they're not out here dealing with these issues. So all of these other things like swirling and getting passports, that this is healing, but this is actually making the wounds worse. And it's making the mental health problems making a lot of these people get mental health problems from what I'm seeing as related to these videos that I'm seeing, because the behavior is starting to escalate. And again, people don't see how behavior escalates. And when your behavior escalates, when you're doing things that are not really healthy, you think that you're doing the right thing, but it's really something that is you're going off the deep end. For example, again, anybody who would sit there and talk on a live stream for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours about black women, that's some obsessive behavior. And someone to sit there that long to talk about women, that's someone who doesn't have a good perspective of reality. Because as a person who is looking at them critically, I'm saying, hey, why can't these guys talk about black-owned businesses? Why can't they talk about group economics? Why can't they talk about home ownership? Why can't they talk about, taking care of your car? Why can't they talk about PC repair? I mean, these are subjects that I would, or like I do, I talk about fantasy and science fiction and comic books, but I find other subjects to talk about in addition to talking about men's issues. And again, a healthy man has a balanced life, but a man who has an unbalanced life, he's going to sit there and talk about black women for hours and think that that's perfectly fine. Even worse, you start to see their behavior when you disagree with these black males. And I saw that with the whole passport issue. I mean, the behavior I saw there showed me again how a lot of these black males were going off the deep end. And it was all because I presented points about disagreeing with them about the whole passport narrative and destroying, I believe, their fantasy about going out here and walking away from this black woman who they have such serious issues with and possibly some hatred of. And I think that's one of the things that is part of the foundation of that anger, is that a lot of these guys have such anger and hatred for black women that they want to be able to escape her, not understanding that you cannot escape yourself. And you can't escape yourself because you still are dealing with these issues that remain unresolved. And even if you go to another country, you're going to only wind up attracting the same type of ratchet in a different color. And again, I talked about that with the black women in Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And I talked about how they end up with the exact same man in a different color in that book. And I'm going to leave a link to that one in the chat. And in that book, I talk about the exact same issues that a lot of these black women were having. And again, when I look at the black men that these days, they think that they're helping by talking about this one subject over and over again, but I'm starting to see how it's hurting a lot of these brothers out here by talking about this subject over and over again. Because after 10 years, there should have been a focus on some sort of resolution and some sort of focus on moving everybody forward. I mean, we made the points about these bad black women back, I believe, in 2000, in the early 2000s, and now in 2019, it's time to move towards a different narrative. We've identified the bad behaviors of these black women. We've identified the female predators. We've identified the predatory and so called ratchet behavior. And with that identification of that behavior, there needs to be some work towards a constructive solution so that we can work. Men, you've already proven your point that yes, there are educated, professional, intelligent, working brothers out here. We proved that point on YouTube back in 2009. And by our presence, we let the world know we are here. And that now that we are here, we are creating a narrative as related to our story. But instead of us moving things forward, a lot of the black men got caught up in this gender war. And sadly, because they are so caught up in the gender war, we aren't moving anywhere forward. And in fact, now we're starting to go back because a lot of the rhetoric from a lot of these black males these days sounds just as crazy as the rhetoric that was on the Oprah Winfrey show. And even some of it sounds a lot like white supremacists and Ku Klux Klansmen and in a circle and don't really go nowhere. So everybody is feeling, nobody is critically thinking about what direction they want to go in. Because if you're sitting there and you're talking about black women, every do where is this going? And that's another critical question I need to ask. Where is all of this going? Because you're talking about these bad black women, but you're not offering a solution to what type of behaviors you want to see or examples of women who participate in the behaviors you want to see. So if you're a man out here, you can't complain about this bad woman. You have to give us examples of good women so that we can get that example as a model, because a lot of the sisters out here who are decent women, they want to see what you want in a woman, what you're looking for in a helpmeet, what you're looking for in a woman who will be a wife. And we're not getting that from a lot of these black males out here. Some of them have no interest in having a wife, and they don't understand that the ultimate goal of a relationship with a black woman is supposed to be marriage. So all of these guys, all these dating coaches and stuff, and all these guys out here, they're thinking that it's supposed to be about getting women and getting women into bed. No, it's not about that. The ultimate goal of courtship is supposed to lead to marriage, and it's supposed to lead to you starting to build a family. Unfortunately, because we have so many black males who have bought into the Madison Avenue and Hollywood ideas about relationships, they think it's supposed to be dating for dating and you just date them and have a relationship that way. But no, it's supposed to lead to a marriage. And that's what the ultimate goal of all of this is. Unfortunately, a lot of these black males, because they're still trying to follow a world model, they can't understand how that model just doesn't work, and how that model leads to them winding up with the exact same types of females they love to complain about, and how they never get that relationship that some of them say that they are looking for. Because a lot of these guys, they say they want this so-called good black woman, but in actuality, they if they wanted that woman, they would be out here with her. But in actuality, they don't want her because they're always looking for the easy sex from the so-called ratchets, and then again complain when they get burnt by said ratchets, and then want to complain about black women. And they don't see, again, the circle going around and round, and how they are literally driving themselves insane, going around and around looking for the exact same thing. And when I look at this social media again, this is insanity, because to make the same, because if I urge you guys to just go to their channels and really look at a lot of the channels and look at them. I mean, I urge you to really just look at the channels and see the same topics over and over and over again. And after a while, you start looking at the videos and it will be the same video over and over again. So you look at it and you go, didn't he talk about that already? And didn't he talk about that before? So we get no real movement as related to the content. And yes, repetition is the mother of skill for some things, but when you repeat the same topics over and over again, talking about the same black women, then how are you progressing and how are you growing as a person? What I look at things as, if you're talking about the same subject over and over again, then you have not resolved things as related to this issue, and you haven't resolved things as related to your issues with black women. Because if you're talking about the same topics over and over again, talking about the same types of black women, this shows that there is no real growth. So you cannot grow if you're talking about the same thing. And people who do talk about other topics, they have shown growth, they have shown progress, they show that they want to move forward. But a lot of times here on Black YouTube, a lot of guys don't want to move forward, and they get angry when people start talking about moving forward. And they sit there and they want to talk, they want to move forward. They don't want to move forward. They just want to keep staying in the same spot. And these type of toxic people, what they're going to do is they're going to sit there and stagnate everybody else's growth. And what they're going to do is then prevent everybody from growing. So that's something that everybody needs to think about when you watch these videos and stuff, because nothing here is constructive. It's not constructive to see people talking about the same subjects over and over again and then wondering why nothing is going anywhere. Now, I know some of these guys make these videos in order to get views, and I know some of them make this type of content because it gets them the attention. But again, what type of attention are you getting? Are you getting good attention, or are you getting bad attention? What's going on, Soul Provider? Glad to see you here. I'm going to be stream tomorrow at 6. So if you want to check that one out, you can go to his channel, but I will be there and I'll be talking about comics, science fiction, and fantasy. Tonight, I'm talking about the insanity of black men on social media, and their obsession with black women. And this obsession, again, this is an obsession I'm seeing that they're having, because anybody else can talk about other subjects and anybody can talk about other topics, but all I hear from black men almost on many of these channels is black women practically every day. And that's just not a healthy thing for people to talk about, because if you can only talk about one subject, that shows you have a fixation on that subject, and that fixation is an obsession. Because when I think about YouTube and social media, I think about it as a platform for building businesses and getting messages out there. And with black men, the only message, sadly, that many have is talking about black women. And there has to be something else guys can talk about. And I know that there are things out here, because I've talked to guys who are into comics. I've talked to guys who are into science fiction. I've talked about it as related to fantasy. There's other topics out there, and a lot of guys out there, they're getting tired of hearing the black community get some platforms out here, and they want to talk about black women. They get the center stage because they reward the bad black women with attention. And instead of us seeing a richer picture of the Black community, we get this one focus and this one spotlight on this Black woman point, and it prevents us from seeing all of the other great aspects of the Black community. So I look at the just like dealing with a 12-year-old boy who just only focuses on one thing, and that's arresting the development of the Black community, and it's really arresting the development of Black social media, because if all you can talk about is Black women, then it's a very shallow subject to discuss, because I can find a dozen other topics to talk about other than Black women. And I like making those videos talking about those other subjects, because as I see it, talking about Black women all the time, and I'm going to repeat this one more time for everybody to understand, does not stop Black women from behaving the way that they do. It does not make them change their behavior. It does not make them stop acting the way that they do. A lot of these Black women smile when they get that attention. They believe it's some sort of reward for what they want. They believe they are getting their needs met. They believe they are getting exactly what they want. And the only way to make them stop participating in this alleged ratchet behavior and out-of-pocket behavior is to ignore them, stop watching their videos, stop talking about their statements, stop making live streams to them. And when you do that, guess what's going to happen? That behavior is not being rewarded, and those women who are looking to get that attention from that drama behavior, what they do is they find that there is nobody there. And that really is the thing that will shame them and embarrass them, because they see no one is paying attention to their behavior. If these women who were so-called models on Instagram, the twerkers, the swirlers, all saw that their view counts were dropping, then they would change their behavior. And that's where you can reinforce the behavior that you want, Black man, by going out here and rewarding the Black women who are doing right in your community with attention, with praise. And when you do that, when you reward those sisters who are doing right in your community, what you do is you let all the Black women in the community know what you want in a woman, what you're looking for in a wife. And when you reward those women for their behavior, what you do is set a standard in your community for what you see as a respectable woman and the type of woman you want to have a wife. And Carl for President Anthony makes the good point. Yes, you have to socially starve the ratchet, because women are social creatures, and with women being social creatures, the behavior you pay attention to is the behavior they want to participate in, because this is how they get their needs met. So every time you reward her for making a twerk video with a thumbs up, every time you put a like on an Instagram, every time you make a video complaining about behavior they participate in, you're rewarding them. So what you want to do is not reward them, not watch their videos, not pay them any attention. And what you do is you kill the ratchet behavior, and you stop the ratchet behavior by not rewarding the ratchet for acting crazy. And that really that will change things overnight, I believe, because if we stop watching the videos, they'll stop making the videos. If you stop watching the Instagram pics, they'll stop making the Instagram pics. And if you stop getting into back and forths out there with those women, then they won't get any of that attention. And that's how you shut them down. Unfortunately, too many Black males out here are so busy complaining about those Black women that it literally creates the what we have on social media right now. And a lot of these guys are frustrated and angry. And again, their behavior is escalating to what I believe to be destructive levels. because when you have black males out here who are stalking men on social media for disagreeing with them on live streams and these back and forths about these black women, what they're doing is going out here and making that they're not seeing how the behavior is affecting them, and it's not changing anything in these women. I'm gonna wrap up the stream at this point, and if you want to learn more about the behaviors that are leading to men winding up in a crisis, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle formats. It's also available on Smashwords and the iBookstore. And I'm also trying to get the sales for the books in the SJS Direct 2019 catalog. So if you could pick up John Haynes' Dark Succubus on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle formats, Esteemed Goddess of on Amazon and in paperback and Kindle formats, or Isis All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle formats, I'd really appreciate it. All three of these books are available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited for free, you can pick up all these books for free. And The Man Crisis is everywhere on Amazon. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to the stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream.